All right, everyone, needs more drums here. Welcome back to episode 2 of my Farming Simulator 22 Getting Started tutorial series, where today we're going to just kind of talk about some of the different kinds of equipment that is available in the game and what everything does and what you need to get started on the farm. So we're not actually probably going to do any work today, any field work. This is probably just going to be more of an overview because there is a lot to cover. This game has a lot of different types of equipment that you can use, to accomplish whatever jobs you need to do. So we're just going to go through each one and kind of talk about, what it does and whether or not if you need it. So we are on the White Farm. This is kind of based on like a farm in Pennsylvania, I believe. Just, typical, pretty big operation, family-owned farm. If you missed the last video, we are in easy farmer, new farmer mode. So basically easy mode. We went through and kind of talked about some of the game settings and everything. So go ahead and check that out if you need to learn about anything like that. But now that we are all set up and kind of ready to go from a personal preferences standpoint in terms of our settings, I want to go through and see what equipment we own and, what we can kind of do to get started here on the farm. So there are two ways to figure out, actually three, I guess, to figure out what it is that you own and, how much equipment you have. So the first way is to just look on this map and you can click on each thing. And as you can see, there are a lot of vehicles on the map that we own, a lot of different trucks even up here. It looks like we got some, I don't know, we have some trucks maybe at our disposal, potentially. I don't know why I can't click those, but they're there. These might just be, just kind of map props, it looks like, but nonetheless, we do have plenty of vehicles available to us on our farm. The second way to see what we own is to click on this vehicle menu here, where we could see individually each item that we have. However, this, if you're not familiar with the names of all your vehicles, this is a little bit difficult to understand sometimes. I surely don't know the name of all of my equipment and vehicles. So the easiest way for me to do this is actually through the store menu. And so if we press, for me, it's the P button, the P key. For you, it might be something different, but essentially this will open up our store menu. And another way to access this is to actually go on the map and visit the store. And then we can actually go ahead and find the front door. There it is. Got it. All right. So now that we're in the store menu, we can actually see all of the equipment that is available to us to purchase. Now, if you want to see what we already have, you could go down and click on this garage icon here and look at all of the equipment that we own. Now, we have quite a bit of equipment, and we'll get into each one of these in a minute. But just so you know, the store menu, just so you can navigate navigate by brand, equipment type. These are all of our, these are vehicles, and then these are tools and trailers. And then we can also purchase our seeds and animal feed or fertilizer and everything like that here. And then we can also have like some quick start packs. So if we want to, plant some grain or harvest some grain, this will give us just some pretty, cheap and available equipment to us to be able to do that. This is the used vehicle menu. So this is actually a new feature in this game. This will change, more or less every day, and different equipment will show up here at a significant discount. They do have some hours on them, as you can see here. And then they also are a little bit older, so that's signified by this here. And we'll get into what all of these mean in a second. But then, like I said, this is your garage menu. This is any leased items that you have. So instead of owning vehicles, you can also lease them for a price. And then these are just mods that I have installed, and then just other menus that are available. So let's go ahead and just kind of go one by one and just show you what all of these vehicles do and whether or not they're going to help us out on our farm. So the first couple things are very important. Obviously, tractors. This is Farming Simulator after all. We're going to need one of these. So there are 3 different categories of tractors: small, medium, and large. And these are based on typically just horsepower. So if you click on a small tractor category, for example, here's all of the tractors that we have available. And if you download some mods, you're going to have more. In the base game, you might not have as many, but mods and DLCs will add some of these. All right, so each tractor or piece of equipment is going to have some icons down here that have some very important information about it. So this icon is the engine horsepower that it will produce. This is the type of transmission that it has, whether it has typically just a manual power shift, or a CVT. This is how much fuel it can hold, top speed, and then the weight of the piece of equipment. And this is important if you have a trailer and you have that setting on where your trailers actually can get filled by weight. Then you don't want to haul a 8-ton tractor with a trailer that can only hold 5 tons, for example, right? So that is an important metric there. And then this is just the price, obviously, and then the name and brand of the tractor. So this is the same for small tractors, medium tractors, and large tractors, just different horsepower and such. Also, you can click the combinations button, and then this will show you kind of some different things that you can use with that equipment. And typically, it'll be some kind of some weights, or for the case of combines, it'll be a header that you can use. We'll get to all that in a minute. But yeah, so this is just the general menu. And then say we want to purchase one of these. We'll click one, and then it has different customization options. So you can go through, and different tractors will have different things. But, for example, with this one, we can go and add a front weight. We can change the engine, upgrade it to give it some more horsepower, and then, choose our different wheels. And this is what I was talking about earlier in the last episode about narrow tires on your fields to avoid crop destruction. If you have narrow tires on like this, you could drive through your field and not destroy your crops. So some tractors will also have a front loader attacher option, which is really, really helpful in, making this a pretty versatile piece of equipment. And you can even customize the license plate if you want to. So if you don't want to buy it, you could choose to buy it outright and own it. You can also lease it. So it will give you a base cost, and then it'll charge you per workday and per work hour, meaning engine hour on the tractor. So this is just something to keep in mind. If you can't afford to purchase a vehicle outright, this is another alternative option to pay for it. So let's go back. So after tractors, we have trucks. Trucks are very common in farming. To pull some grain trailers or animal trailers, or flatbeds. To bring some fertilizer or seeds to your farm in bulk. This is these will get the job done just fine, and there's plenty to choose from. Even in the base game, they added Mack trucks, which is really awesome. To have a licensed American brand for once. They really never had that before. And then I also have some mods as well, but same icons, same things, same customization options. All good there. And after that, we have harvesters. So there's some different types of harvesters depending on the crop type. For our purposes, we're mainly going to be growing cereal crops, or any kind of legume or root, maybe some root crops. I forget what corn is, if that's a root crop. I don't think it's a root crop, but nonetheless, corn, sunflowers. These are your general combines, all-purpose harvesters. And so these have an additional icon here. This is the amount of this is the volume that it can hold. So this is how much grain it will hold before its tank is full and it needs to be emptied. Trailers will have a similar icon, like for a fill level. That's your fill volume right there. And these are the types of crops that it can harvest. So as you can see, it harvests basically all of the cereal and root crops in the game. So we have, sorghum, canola, wheat, barley, oats, sunflowers, soybeans, and corn. Now, I don't know why these are separate. There must be some new crops in this map. But anyway, no big deal. Some maps will have additional crop types. So this is a modded map, so it might have some new things for us. But yeah, forage harvesters are a little bit different. These are more specialized if you're doing a lot of mainly if you have a lot of cattle. These are pretty useful if you need to make silage, which we'll get into that in a later episode. But you really won't have one of these unless you have a pretty big cow operation or silage operation. We're not really going to use one of these right now, so I won't really explain those until we need it. Same with potato harvesters, beet harvesters. These are just specialized for these certain kinds of crops. Sugarcane, same thing. Cotton, grapes, and olives, same thing. Forestry machines, we're not going to be doing forestry in this map, but we do have tons of options to cut down trees. I might do another video just of a quick guide to forestry, but that is not going to be happening right now. So we'll go, we'll save that for later. These are mixer wagons, useful for cows. We'll explain how these work later when we talk about animals. Crop protection, these are going to be sprayers mainly. So these are, just an alternative to pulling a trailer to fertilize your crops. Same with slurry tanks. Slurry is another form of natural fertilizer that you can use. We also have mowers to cut grass, front loaders to, just move different pallets and things around the farm. Very useful. Bigger front loaders are wheel loaders, so we also have these if some of the small ones are not getting the job done. And then we also have telehandlers, skid steer loaders that pretty much do the same things, just different sizes, different types of equipment. We also have forklifts, make moving around pallets and things pretty easy. And then finally we have cars. There's some little golf carts and things too to use, get around the farm. And then we also have just miscellaneous random equipment, that doesn't really have a category. So for example, this is kind of like just a bulk loader. It looks like this is, just a dump truck, just random stuff that doesn't really fit into any category. So that's vehicles. Now let's move on to tools, as these are pretty important. You're going to need, something to actually get the work done on the farm. So starting with trailers, these are just going to be all of your pretty much bulk fill trailers. This is what we're going to load crops into, either from the combine or, to and from the silo to go ahead and sell them. And so these are pretty self-explanatory. There's just a ton of options. We also have some, in my case, I downloaded some flatbed trailers as well to, haul around some pallets and things or bales, from the store. So there's some different options here for you to choose from. Just pay attention to, as you can see, this is the fill volume and this is the weight. I think the fill weight, but definitely the fill volume. So depending on which type of trailer you have, some trailers have upgrades and different capacities. So, this one can hold anywhere from 26,000. This is in thousand liters, by the way. So 26,000 to 182,000 liters. I think this trailer is like an unrealistic option. But for example, we look at something like this. This B-train trailer can hold 75,000 liters of grain. And this is the fill types as well that the trailer can be filled with. Not all trailers can be filled with everything. So it is important to, make a note of this and make sure that the trailer that you're buying is going to be able to serve the purpose of, for why you're buying it. So if you're using it to haul crops, make sure it can hold all the crops and you'll be good to go. So next we have some auger wagons. I don't use these a ton because I haven't really played with a super huge farm, but these are actually really useful if you if you're going to be running a combine and a tractor and then offloading that tractor into a trailer. So what these are for is a combine will be harvesting and then a tractor will run like in tandem with the combine kind of next to it. And then the combine will unload grain into this trailer. And then this trailer can kind of go and refill, drop it off in like a semi-truck trailer that's parked along the side of the road so that the semi-trucks don't actually have to drive into the field. So these are useful if you have like really, really big farm operations and such. I don't think we have one now, but yeah, that's what these do. And then we have different types of headers for your combines. So these headers and corn headers are going to be for regular combines that we looked at a minute ago. And so just different types of different sizes for different types of combines. And so it is important to note with tools, we have an icon, a couple of different icons that are important. So this one here is actually going to be our operating speed. So this is how fast you can go when using the tool. And I think some of these, maybe not all, maybe these don't, but once we get into tools such as, here's an example. So these potato harvesters, this is the horsepower required to operate the tool. So you want to make sure that your tractor has at least this much horsepower, or definitely, more is better. So this is the minimum that you're going to need to operate it. And so if you have a tractor that is, say 150 or less, you won't be able to operate this tool at full speed or full efficiency. So you won't, this can operate at 7 miles an hour with 150 plus horsepower tractor. So if we have one that's less powerful than that, we might be only able to operate at, say, 5 miles an hour, or not at all. Sometimes if your tractor's way underpowered, you won't even be able to, get anywhere with the tool. So always important to make sure that your equipment can, your tractors can actually run your equipment. So pay attention to that when you're purchasing new things. And so since all these are pretty much specific, these are just crop specific. So we're not going to really talk about those because those are some more different advanced crop types. But next we have some stone pickers. So these are, if you have field stones on, you can run these over your field, pick up the stones, and then sell them to typically a debris crusher that'll be somewhere on the map. Mulchers are useful for after you harvest certain crops, specifically corn is one of them. You can run this over your field, and then it'll actually break down the remnants of like the corn stalks, and then kind of put that into the soil and make it a little bit easier to cultivate or plow, for your next harvest. So I don't really know if these, I think these give you a little bit of a yield bonus. Actually, if you use these before you cultivate, I think you get like, an extra 2.5%. I want to say that somewhere on the internet. I forget exactly where it is. Maybe I'll look it up. But yeah, so using these, not necessary, but if you have the time and the money to purchase one, they do offer a little bit of a benefit. So these are going to be, actually, these two are going to be your main very important tool types. So plows and cultivators. So plows, you need to plow before you after you harvest any kind of root crop. So like a corn or sunflowers, you need to plow, or potatoes, you need to plow after those to be able to plant for your next harvest. Also, plowing before you plant them will actually give you a yield bonus. So if you plow before you plant corn, you'll get, I think it's 15% yield bonus by doing that. And then also, actually, I think maybe I have it backwards, so correct me if I'm wrong, but either way, if you plow before or after, one of them you get a yield bonus and one of them is a necessity. I believe you actually have to plow before, and then if you plow after, you get a yield bonus in your next harvest. So if you plow, corn, you plow before you plant it, then you plow again afterwards. Then if you plant, say, wheat, for example, you'll get a 15% yield bonus on that wheat. Plows also allow you to make new fields, which is unique to plows. There are mods where you can do it with other equipment, but in the base game, you can only make new fields if you use a plow. So keep that in mind. Always important to have one of these. They are kind of, time consuming to use. They don't, this icon here is the work width. So it's 2.5 meters, which is not a lot. Plows typically have a pretty small work width. So just keep that in mind. It's going to take quite a bit, but they are useful. And another fun fact is if you plow before you plant your next harvest, you actually will not get weeds on your next harvest. So if you do have weeds turned on and you plow before you plant the seeds, you won't get weeds anyway, so you don't have to deal with them. So that's another reason to use a plow every once in a while. Very useful tool. And then cultivators, similar function, just digging up the soil, but these are more for, any kind of grain crop. So these, you can use these faster. They typically have a bigger work width, require less horsepower than a plow. Same thing though. Then similar to cultivators, you could use disc harrows or power harrows. They operate in a similar way. They accomplish the same function because you either need to plow your field or you need to cultivate your field before you plant certain crops. Cultivating, disc harrowing, or power harrowing will accomplish the same task, essentially. They just have different outcomes in terms of field stones and the level of weeds that you'll get. So, it just depends on which one you use, but they all accomplish the same task. Subsoilers are like plows, but a little bit, they require less horsepower and typically have a wider work width. However, you cannot create fields with them, and they will result in weeds for your next harvest. So similar to plows, they accomplish the same function, but they have a little bit, of drawback. So if you have a faster speed and more operating room than a plow, but it has a couple drawbacks as well. Spaders, same thing, similar to plows. I don't really use these too much, but they're available to you if you want. And now we can get into seeding and planting. So certain crops need seeders, certain crops need planters. Seeders can plant any kind of grain crop, including oilseed radish and grass. So these are going to be, pretty useful. Obviously, some seeders can also have fertilizer in them. So this is the type. These are the crop types that it can hold, and this is the types of products that it can hold. So this is the seed icon, and this is the fertilizer icon. So typically, these will have separate tanks, for fertilizer and seeds, so you can actually get a coat of fertilizer down before you, while you're planting. So kind of, two tasks in one saves some time. So yeah, so these are just some different seeders available to you. Some seeders you'll actually need, for example, for this one, you'll actually need to it'll be like a 2-part piece of equipment. So you need, this will be on the back of your tractor to actually put the seeds in the ground. And this is the tank that holds all of the seeds, or an extension of a tank, for certain models as well. So just keep in mind, like, some of these might require more than one piece of equipment. And you can see that in this combinations button here. You can actually see which ones it will work with and which ones it'll increase the capacity of. So planters are the same thing as seeders. They just are for different crop types. So specifically corn, sunflowers, soybeans can be either one, and then sugar beet and cotton are the typical ones that can be planted by planters only. So just a different type of seeder, same general functionality. Rollers are to get your seeds in the ground. Not essential, but doing it after you plant will give you a little bit of a yield bonus. I think it's like 2% as well or something. Same with mulching. Not essential again. Don't need to really worry about that. But sprayers, these are to spray liquid fertilizer and herbicide on your fields after you've planted your crops. Herbicide is to kill weeds or prevent them. And fertilizer is to increase your yield bonus. I believe every coat of fertilizer that you apply is another 25% yield bonus, I believe. So to get a full 100% yield, you have to put down 2 coats of fertilizer. Fertilizer spreaders, same thing. Some of these can also spread lime. So remember in the last video where you're talking about lime spreading, this is going to accomplish that. You just have to make sure that it has the lime icon indicated by this white pile of rocks right here. And this one can also have fertilizer too. So again, there's your fertilizer spreaders. And manure spreaders and slurry tanks are another way to spread different kinds of fertilizer. So you can have solid fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, manure, and slurry. So these will allow you to work with those different types. Weeders are a manual way of getting rid of weeds. So these can go through, you just drag these behind your tractor and they'll pull out weeds. They can be used in the early growth stages, and some of them can't get rid of medium weeds. So like, for example, this one is a hoe. This one needs to, this one can actually get rid of medium weeds, but this one can't. It can only use small weeds. And then large weeds you cannot remove with any of these tools. You need to use herbicide. So letting your weeds grow to be too tall, you're going to need some, different kind of equipment for that. And then grassland care, this is, I really don't use these too much. These are for just maintaining some of your grass fields if you are, doing a lot of grass work. Mowers, self-explanatory, cut grass. And now, if you are doing grass work, you're also going to need some of this equipment here. So we have tedders, windrowers, forage wagons, and balers. So tedders dry the grass if you're making hay, and I'll get to that, in another video about some of the things you could do. Making hay, you're going to need one of these. You're also going to need a windrower, which will take your tedded grass and put it into nice even rows so you can go over it with your baler, or a forage wagon if you're going to collect it. So forage wagons will pick up any hay or straw that's sitting on the ground and put it in, a trailer, and then you can dump it wherever, in a silo or just in a pile somewhere. These are just a big bulk way to move some of that around. Balers are a little bit, more common, I would say, if you're not dealing with big bulk quantities. So these, you just drag behind your tractor. they'll wrap everything up in a nice bale for you, whether it be grass or straw. And then some of these you can even have bale wrappers on the back of them, so they can wrap your bales and let them ferment into silage. Again, something that we'll get to later. And then these are just, bale technologies, just trailers to help you load different kinds of bales, move them around easier. Same with bale wrappers are just ways to make silage bales. So you just drag it along behind your tractor and you can wrap them up. And then chainsaws, if you're cutting down any trees, this is a handheld tool. So these are, very easy to use. Forestry equipment, we're not going to get into that because we're not doing forestry. Animals, these are going to be like your mixer wagons and tanks for milk or water. All your animals need water, or your straw for like straw bedding. So that is all here. Animal transport, self-explanatory. These can hold different types of animals if you're buying and selling pretty frequently. And then levelers, these are for silage. We'll talk about those, later. Silage compaction, same thing. And then front loaders and front loader tools. So remember we talked about front loaders and wheel loaders and telehandlers. Just make sure, essentially all of these are the same type of things. They just make sure that they actually correspond to the type of equipment that you have. If you have a front loader, use the front loader tools. If you have a wheel loader, use the wheel loader tools. Pretty straightforward. You'll find things like buckets and bale moving equipment and pallet forks and things like that. Big bag handlers, stuff like that. So plenty to choose from. Dollies are for if you want to attach, like a semi trailer to your tractor. I never really use these unless I'm using like something like this, like an A-train. But yeah, they do have these if you want to use them. Low loaders are just going to be like your flatbeds and ways to move, like trailers that can actually move equipment. So if you want to go to the store and buy a bunch of pallets of stuff, this is a good option to get something like this. And then header trailers, these are for your combine headers. You can actually just go up to these, put the header on here, and then pull it behind your combine or behind like a pickup truck or something like that. Realistic way of moving that stuff around, since the headers are really wide and you can't really always take those down the road, especially if they're a big, really, really big header. You're going to need one of these. So just make sure that these can fit the actual headers, and you can see which ones it's compatible with by just pressing that C button and seeing combinations and seeing which ones it can actually fit. And now these are weights. So these are actually pretty important if you have any kind of, tool like a plow or something, and you have a 3-point hitch on the front of the tractor. You can actually pick one of these up and it'll help balance out the tool. And so your tractor, your front wheels won't be standing up in the air or anything. So these are actually really important. You want to make sure that you have one of these if you need it, and you can actually see if you need one of these or not. Typically, if you look at like a tool, like a plow or something, and then click combinations, you'll be able to. It'll bring you to a menu where it'll have like the different types of weights that it recommends for that particular piece of equipment. So, yep, useful to have a couple of these. And then finally, these are just some miscellaneous things like, loading up silos and such with conveyor belts and everything. We're probably not going to use really any of these. And then, snow plows for the winter, and different kinds of trailers like fuel trailers or, just random equipment that doesn't really have a category. And then finally, this is just like spray paint for marking trees and things. So that's pretty much the guide to equipment. I know I spent, maybe went into too much detail about some of these. If I didn't go into enough detail, I apologize. Let me know if you have any questions. That's going to be pretty much it for this video. In the next video, we're going to actually start seeing the equipment that we own, and then getting into some work and showing you guys kind of how to plant some crops, harvest some crops, take care of your fields, things like that. Very basic stuff, just getting started with the game and start having some fun. But this is important to understand what's all available to you to use. And so now that you have an understanding of which kinds of equipment are in the game, we can actually see what we have and make sure that it's useful to us, and see if we need to buy anything else. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a great rest of your week. Stay tuned for the next video. Gonna start doing some work, so don't go anywhere. Like, subscribe if this video is helpful to you, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great week. Peace out.